All right, so I'm not a collector, so that's why you see the little guy unboxed, unboxing my Michael Myers figure from, I think it's Retro Neco or whatever the hell. Look, he's running, dun dun dun, whatever the hell you call it. It's a cloth figure, which is why I bought it. Those little clothes are interchangeable, and the style of this figure is also awesome. If you take take it off, baby. Take off his little jumpsuit here, Elvis suit, Myers suit. Fuck. Sorry for swearing here. I thought this was pretty cool. You underneath, I wasn't expecting to see such detail, but you see the gunshot wounds, and obviously no, you don't got much more detail than the color because I didn't know that Michael was so racked, by the way, from working out in the sane asylum or whatever, but you know. You got the little gunshot wounds. It shows you where exactly where Michael Myers was shot, which is also pretty cool. Uh, doesn't appear to be any exit wounds, so I guess he must have been working out and pretty firm because those bullets did not penetrate. Ideal dolls, they're starting to make them harder to move the joints, which is ideal for stop motion. Michael Myers is such a great character because just the very look of him looks otherworldly. Like you can still almost do the Michael Myers stuff with him without even trying to do the performance because he's got a certain walk which is like wood through water or whatever as it's described. And this is a figure of Michael from Halloween 2, which happens to be my favorite Halloween movie, was part 2. And this is the first movie where Michael gets seriously fucked up. Sorry for swearing. I don't like to swear a lot if you guys haven't noticed. And it's a movie which I saw as a little boy. I think this was my favorite one, and the first one and the scariest one I ever saw was the one at the hospital. I remember watching it after Mad TV in around the time of Kiss doing the farewell tour, and Kiss had performed on Mad TV, and then this scary movie came on afterwards. And Fox was really good about airing scary movies. Look how he just sits and he looks like himself. The body isn't the greatest, but bodies can change it comes with the interchangeable head where he gets, Freddy has his way with him and stabs him in the eyes. I'm just joking, of course. Loomis shoots him in both eyes, which I was like, wow, that pretty much kills it for the sequel. But I guess Michael Myers can regenerate, or maybe he wasn't hit there, or maybe he's guided by some, unnatural, supernatural force, unworldly, otherworldly force and entity showing him, telling him where to go, guiding his eyesight when he has none as a second sight. Look at that. I'm just learning the tricks of my camera and how to focus and not focus, but there I am focusing on him again. The actor playing him in part 2 is Dick Warlock, who happens to be my favorite Michael Myers actor, but the best one was probably George P. Wilbur of part 4, who was pretty good in part 4 despite not having the best mask, and he had a terrible mask in part 4, but he came back in part 6 with a much better mask, and I think he had about the same beefy build, and he just really looked like a good beefy Michael Myers, seemed to have the walk just right. Not a whole lot of comments on how he did the character, but anyway, Dick Warlock was criticized for not quite having the walk, but he did have that slender build to him. And I like him being, in hindsight, when I was younger and I saw this movie, I remembered Michael being a lot bigger. And I was probably thinking of the George P. Wilbur one. But Dick Warlock was kind of, I don't know if you could say he's a little guy, average size guy. He's going around killing the nurses. And that, to me, was the scariest Michael Myers film. That might have been the first one I ever watched. Because it also has the end of part 1 at the beginning. And to me, I'm trying to remember you see me stroking at me right now. I'm trying to remember what was it? The music, the exact music, because for me, I thought I heard the music sounding a certain way, and I can't figure out which movie it was, I remembered it was the most haunting, horrible, scary music at that time. Just the beginning was pounding at me. And then it keep, like I said, the beginning was pounding at me, and they changed the theme in just about every movie. So I don't know exactly what movie I was watching when I was saw my first Michael Myers movie, but I ended up seeing all of them. Each one of them is ridiculously scary, despite being a somewhat cliched villain nowadays with the unkillable monster and whatnot. Michael still has his characteristics that are hard to beat, even with Jason. And I gotta say, I was scared of Jason, but in a more visceral way, hillbilly way, just kind of some different, very different characteristics. But when you see Michael, you see the show, and I think you really, those are probably some of the scariest movies with a masked killer that I have ever seen. Michael Myers being not really the original masked killer, but maybe the definitive masked killer for that style of not speaking, being masked, being almost unkillable. Well, in his case, he's unkillable because he never officially dies, except perhaps in part two, where you should have been dead, or in part what's the other one where he's melted milk dead? So in part two, uh, part re, yeah, part two was really where he would have had a hard time coming back from, but they did write him to be a little less extensively burned than we saw him. We saw the inside of his mask, being, lit ablaze at the end of part two. We saw him with the loss of both eyes, and somehow he's back again, So I'd say part two, he was pretty much done, and it would be hard for either him or Dr. Sam Loomis to have survived part two. Trying to think of where he was next killed off in a definitive way, because just when you think that you've had him, and just the way you expect him to be gone and done and over with, then suddenly, he comes back, or they have a really reliable explanation for why he has returned. So in the case of Halloween H2O, when he gets his head cut off, well, Jamie Lee has cut off the wrong head. And so that's a perfectly reliable reason as to why he is not dead, And then in Halloween Resurrection, he's just very badly burned as usual. He's not dead and just very badly burned. And I don't know, like I said, I thought they got him pretty good in the last Halloween movie before Halloween Kills, but then they revealed that the firefighters came and put the fire out and everything. But I think Halloween 2 is probably the hardest Michael Myers death to come back from, by my estimation. That's probably, that must have been, it for me. But he's never really been definitively killed off in the way that Jason has and then come back from the dead. He's never come back from the dead in any of the pictures, but he is controlled by some otherworldly force, and he has this eerie presence, a high tolerance for pain. Some people in the modern generation, some people don't like the supernatural explanation for some of these very supernatural killers. I mean, I must come from a whole nother, more spiritual generation, because even some of our atheists and people who didn't necessarily believe in God would still think about these very elaborate, imaginative concepts for various fantasies, whereas nowadays everything is pinned down to some supposed form of science, which is very problematic, because you got someone like Juggernaut in Deadpool 2 being able to withstand gunshot wounds, but oh look, Colossus attaches a metal fence post around his knuckles, and now he's able to punch him to the sky. Okay, who gives a shit? So you're not gonna die from the fucking multiple gunshot wounds. But sorry for cussing again. You're not gonna succumb to the multiple gunshot wounds, but you'll go down from a set of basically brass knuckles, or there's all kinds of stupid things like that. And then in Thor Ragnarok, you got the guy that actually, it's pretty well established that the guns are next to useless, but then one of the Viking, entities or whatever from Asgardians, goes back home and he's got these machine guns with him that somehow become useful later on, even though they never worked on any of his people before. So did they become enchanted or something? So anyway, there used to be powerful supernatural explanations for how and why things happened or occurred. Whereas nowadays, people who are pinned down by science or only believe in science, as in modern science or their interpretations of science, will not have any common sense or they'll either yield to their common sense or their own reasoning, or they won't have a very brilliant imagination. They don't, like if they're doing a Freddy film, they'll try to ground him to science. Like, obviously, there's another world beyond this one if Freddy is able to exist in that one and kill you in it. But, Wes Craven was an atheist. But he made Freddy Krueger, which was a very imaginative, Nightmare on Elm Street was a very imaginative world, explored a lot of very, very interesting, like, supernatural topics that, still affect me today, as a Christian, inspired me to kind of think about things in a way that... Michael Myers, this figure is really cool, but since it's meant to be clothed and it's designed a different way, he looks a little diminutive. It's just kind of funny sometimes, but these are really great figures too, and you can take the heads off and use them for whatever the hell you want, which is actually, I just realized that today. It will come in great handy for some other things. Models, articulation, the whole shebang, etc. But anyway, like I said, don't let your imagination be pinned down by what you, I don't know. Like I said, don't let it be ruled by reason or your supposed ideas of reason. Let's be. You can let your imagination fly and things, and the most disturbing thing to me, though, is I don't like to lie to people. So sometimes we have a whole lot of political movements in this day and age, and so everyone inserts their social commentary into something. I do it too. I only began to do it because I used to like to not have as much social commentary. Look at this. Turn around and look at me. Look at me when I'm talking to you, Michael. Michael! That's one of the great things with Jamie Lee Curtis. Screams Michael. This is a great time to experience. Look how great that severed head looks on film, by the way. I've never really photographed these before, but these are built for videos. They are built to make amazing videos, and like I said, they work really, really well. Anyway, I think I've gone over the same point 100 times before coming to the same conclusion, but let's just say this is a pretty good unboxed figure. I hope that just looking at Michael Myers' head disturbs you as much as it does me, because, the whole thing with the black eyes, the no eyes, the William Shatner mask, it's a very disturbing looking image, and very shootable. It's a dream. But anyway, have a wonderful day. God bless.